Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so there's a few things going on tonight, man. I have still yet to do any, and I mean any, homework on the play-in tournament games, man. I'm just not on point when it comes to that. I'm enjoying my time away from regular season preparation entirely too much. And I just have not even glanced at basketball highlights for these play-in games, or even Minnesota for that matter. I've not done any homework. So I do want to throw a prediction out there for the games that are coming on tonight. And I don't know that I anticipate being any more knowledgeable 4 or 5 hours from now when the games take place. As the first one's at 4:30, and the second one I believe is probably like 6:30. I'm not really even sure. So that's really what it comes down to. The Orlando Magic and Atlanta Hawks. If I'm just going to breeze over my understanding of these teams, Eastern Conference teams that I don't follow, the one thing that concerns me about the Atlanta Hawks is just the absence of Jalen Johnson. He's been gone all half the damn season, so it ain't like this is a new situation. But his presence makes me feel significantly better about them in a one-game situation, just because of how talented of a basketball player he is. And so that's what first comes to mind for me is he's not there. I love the acquisition, the acquisition, I guess you can say, of Dyson Daniels, having him be a part of the season all year and turning into one of the best defensive players we've seen, and putting him next to Trae Young really offsets Trae Young's potential defensive deficiencies. So I think that could be positive in a one-game situation. And I do miss, I think the Orlando Magic will miss just the same, Jalen Suggs out there for that exact same reason. You know, when I look at the matchups, Orlando's a pretty big team. When you think about Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Anthony Black, Wendell Carter Jr., you know, everybody that they have, you just understand that they have a lot of length, a lot of size. You look at a guy like Cole Anthony, who can potentially be a big one-game guy. You know, his ceiling goes pretty high in a one-game situation if he's utilized. There's a lot of parity there. But the thing that concerns me about the Orlando Magic, although they've had their way with my Los Angeles Lakers in both games, unfortunately, the one thing that concerns me about the Magic is just their ability to score the ball consistently. They're a very good defensive team, very good defensively. But I wonder if in this situation, though the game is in Orlando, if they're not finding themselves outmatched by the offensive firepower of Trae Young in a one-game situation. Dyson Daniels hitting big shots. You know, some of these other players that they got down there. I look at Trey Mann and how he's been playing with opportunities. He looks pretty good right now. Or should I say Terrence Mann. And so these are the type of things that come to mind for me when I consider the Atlanta Hawks tonight. I'm just not entirely sold on Orlando's ability to score enough buckets in any given situation right now. Defensively, they can hold you under yours, but if Paolo's having an off night, if Franz having an off night, suddenly I'm not really sure where the scoring's coming from. You know, and see, that's my concern. Suddenly I'm a little worried about where the scoring's coming from. So in any event that we talk about this particular basketball game, you understand the game is in Orlando. And so with it being in Orlando, I'm leaning toward Orlando being able to feed off their crowd and the comfortability of their role players likely being able to hit shots in their building. Gives me a little more confidence in Orlando than maybe some of the role players of the Atlanta Hawks. You know, I think about the Atlanta Hawks, there are two guys that come to mind. The guys that played in Cleveland earlier this year. Shooters that they were able to pick up, and players like, what's his name? Caris LeVert comes to mind. Is he going to have a big game tonight? Can he be a big threat off the bench? I think of a guy like, I can't think of my man's name, played in Philadelphia last year. I always make fun of him for his size, but he's been shooting the heck out of the basketball this year for the Atlanta Hawks since they picked him up in the trade that sent DeAndre Hunter out. I can't think of his name right now, but can he shoot the ball in a game like this, hit about 4 threes, 5 threes like he's been able to do in certain situations? If he has a big game, I just don't know that Orlando can match that firepower. Can KCP have a big game tonight defensively? Can he hit threes? You know, he seemed to have kind of not been himself in Orlando, in my opinion. So these are the type of things that I see from afar. Obviously, afar as a Laker fan who hasn't watched too many games of either of these teams this year. But one thing I know about Atlanta is they have no problem scoring the basketball, that they do have a legitimate superstar out there in Trae Young. And I do believe that he'll probably be the best player on the floor. Banchero can go off, but he has had some extremely inefficient games here and there. And while Orlando is more than capable of having Franz Wagner also go off, I just look at the Atlanta Hawks and say I see a little more firepower in Atlanta right now. I see a little more consistent shooting in Atlanta right now. And so that's why I think I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Hawks. I think this could potentially be an overtime game. Anything can happen. Don't get it twisted. I've been wrong about a lot, and I haven't done homework on these teams, so I'm kind of just going off the top of my head. I think the size of Orlando could potentially pose some issues, especially without Jalen Johnson down there to offset that in Atlanta. But Onyeka Okongwu's been playing so good this year, I have no doubt that he's going to be a problem. Probably going to outplay Wendell Carter Jr. out there. And he's a big part of this. If he's going for double-doubles, 15 boards, stuff like that, I think that could be a real problem for the Orlando Magic. And so these are the type of things we're talking about tonight with this particular game. I think the matchup's pretty even. I think if you play this game in a 7-game series, it could be really exciting. Unfortunately, these two teams will not be facing each other but one basketball game. And whoever loses this game will go down and play the 9-10 winner from the Chicago-Miami game, which I believe takes place tomorrow. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Atlanta on this one. With having done extremely little homework, I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Hawks. And I'm just going to say that I expect Trae Young to be the best player on the floor. And Dyson Daniels steal the ball from a lot of people tonight. And, you know, I think Orlando is a team that's headed in the other direction, the wrong direction. Unfortunately, they're kind of taking steps back from where they were last year, even though they're still in the mix. You just want to see their team take some steps forward, and that's just unfortunate for them that Jalen Suggs isn't out there to do big things to offset Dyson Daniels down there defensively. So that's really what I see down there. Just see a little more firepower in Atlanta, to be honest with you. I think when you talk about the Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero effect, you can always see a world where they're both going for 35 points apiece, which makes it extremely difficult to beat them, to say the least. But for my money in a game like this, I'm going to go with Trae Young on the road. He tends to play well on the road. This is not an issue for him, and that's what I'm going to put my money on tonight. I'm putting my money on Trae Young. All right, so for the other game in the Western Conference, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies. And, you know, Memphis is just spiraling in the wrong direction. They just lost their coach. They fired him about 3 weeks ago. Jalen Wells went down with the freak injury against Charlotte. Broke his wrist. He's out for the season. Brandon Wright, I believe his name. He's out for the season. It's a lot of is his name Brandon Wright? I can't even think right now. Brandon Clark, excuse me. That's what I'm talking about. He's out for the season. It's just one of those situations where the Memphis Grizzlies just look like a limited basketball team to me. They're relying on too many players that I just don't believe in at this point. And I'm not surprised to see them in the play-in tournament. In fact, I predicted they would be in the play-in tournament about 3 weeks ago when things started going south for them. They're just not that great of a team right now. If the season were to start today, I don't even think they would be here, to be completely honest with you. Now, John Morant can throw a monkey wrench in everything. 12 is 12. Jaren Jackson Jr., they do have some big-time players, but as I've said many times, I just don't think they've constructed their roster for success right now. I think they're more constructed to kind of retool and be more cost effective around the cap and around the margins for ownership. That's kind of what they're built to be. They're not really a team. They're just pieces that are in flux at the moment, and I just don't think that they're really equipped to do a whole lot right now. Meanwhile, the Golden State Warriors coming off a really tough loss against the Clippers, where it could have been anyone's game at that point. Overtime, Steph's shots falling. I do find myself a little concerned about tonight's game as it pertains to Jimmy Butler. He did have that mid-air collision that kind of hurt his knee or quad or whatever that area is. So I don't know if he's going to be 100% tonight, and I think they're going to obviously need him to be 100% in this postseason situation. To be honest with you, I think in a one-game situation, you have to wonder if that is going to be the determinant factor. But this game is in Golden State, and as we often talk about with role players, you tend to expect them to shoot better. You tend to expect for players to really get off the floor and be more energetic at home. And so that leans in Golden State's favor. I do believe that you're talking about a guy like Brandon Podziemski, who could be a problem tonight. For the Memphis Grizzlies, who tend to have issues with certain areas of the basketball around the guard area. Point of attack defense was something that I was listening to someone talk about a lot. But like we often say, with one-game situations, anything could happen. Anything could happen. For all I know, this could be a big Vince Williams game. For all I know, this could be a big Desmond Bane game. You know what I mean? So with that being said, it's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen. But I will say this. Zach Edey posed a lot of problems for the Los Angeles Lakers when we saw the Memphis Grizzlies a couple weeks ago. We still beat them without any trouble, but his energy on the glass, offensive rebounds, second chance points was a big problem. The Golden State Warriors, that's one of their strengths, is the boards, offsetting second chance points. I think an area of emphasis to pay attention to tonight is who's able to give their team second chance points and whose role players are going to hit shots. With Jalen Wells out, now you're asking Vince Williams to play more. Now you're asking some of these other guys. Maybe you're asking Scottie Pippen to be on the floor a little more in different lineups. Luke Kennard on the road. Can those guys hit shots on the road if their number's called? Jaren Jackson Jr., is he going to shoot well from behind the arc? Sometimes he can have a 3 of 7 from behind the arc game. Sometimes he can be 1 of 7, that kind of thing. Can he be fair from behind the arc? Because he is a hell of a threat in transition, pulling up from 3 as a center. It's something that you don't see too often. He does that. So, these are the type of things I'm paying attention to. That matchup between him and Draymond Green is interesting to me. Who's going to outplay whom in that situation? 12 is going to be important tonight. Is there a world where he outplays Steph Curry tonight? So Steph Curry going to have one of them cold shooting nights. A couple weeks ago, he had a game where he only went for 3 points and missed 11 threes. That can't happen tonight. But just the same, he's coming off a game where he had 35 points, couldn't miss a shot basically against the Clippers. Although they didn't win, he was a hell of a problem out there. So that's going to be the determining factor. This is the postseason. I put a lot of faith in Steph Curry in these situations. I think the matchup between the Warriors and the Rockets could potentially be something that the Warriors would want for themselves. So I definitely think the incentive for them to win this game is obviously massive on many fronts. And it's in their building. I do think the Golden State Warriors are going to win this game. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just don't think the Memphis Grizzlies, I just don't believe in the Memphis Grizzlies right now. That doesn't mean that they can't win a one-game situation. For all I know, Scottie Pippen has a massive game, goes off for triple-double. That's the problem with this tournament. Anything can happen. A big player like 12 could get in foul trouble for 3 quick fouls in the first quarter. All of a sudden, that changes the dynamic of this damn thing. Guy roll an ankle, out for the game. Now, that's your season. And so this is why this is such a dangerous situation. But if I'm going to put my money on anything, it's going to be on the team that's won 4 championships. Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr. They know what it takes to perform in these situations. Although I'm not the biggest Steve Kerr guy, y'all know that. But at the end of the day, the championships are what tells the story here. And Memphis has not had a whole lot of postseason success. Although they get to the postseason, they usually get kicked out. They usually are not able to perform in a way that makes people feel very confident in them, in my opinion. You know, so I have to assume that in a one-game situation, for all the marbles, the Golden State Warriors are going to find a way to win the basketball game. Now, they didn't do so last year against the Sacramento Kings. They found themselves on the wrong side of the play-in tournament and ended their season early. This is the problem with the tournament. It's a one-game situation. But if I'm judging what it is that history has shown me, and I'm looking at the role players and the fact they have home court advantage for the Warriors, and how well they played against the Clippers, and how poor the Memphis Grizzlies have looked over the last couple of weeks, you have to think that the Warriors are favored to win this basketball game. So that's really where I'm going with this. I think the Golden State Warriors will take the game. I think the Hawks will win on the road in Orlando tonight, although I'm not overly confident in that at all. And those are my loose predictions without really doing any homework or knowing too much about these teams. I know a lot about the Warriors, but as far as some of these other squads, Memphis, I did some studying on the Western Conference teams, but Eastern Conference squads I don't know a whole lot about, so I'm just kind of running with whatever I can come up with. But yeah, man, just wanted to give y'all a loose prediction. I expect to be a bit more prepared for the playoffs than the tournament, but this is what I got for you, man. Those are my predictions for tonight's games, and of course we'll have a different video for the next slate of games as we want to predict just about everything there is to see in this postseason. So that's pretty much what I got to say. My name is BDO44. I thank you all for watching.